Hello and welcome to the Season 1, Episodes 6 to 10 recap video for Blood on the Tamesis, a Vampire the Masquerade chronicle set in Oxfordshire, England. So the purpose of this video is for people who want to join us live but have not yet had the chance to catch up on all of those other episodes. And it's also for people who did watch those episodes but may have forgotten over the Christmas break what happened and want a little refresher. It's worth mentioning that if any of the names in this video you can't remember who they are or you want more information, if you go to the Blood on the Thames website, to the ShrekNet files, there is a relationship map there with all of the characters present and you can click on them for more details. So, is everybody sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. We start episode 6 with Joanne being led into a cellar where she finds the kindred that killed her, Denton Fesk, and he's being kept under Sally's supervision. He seems broken, and Joanne tells him that his destruction will ultimately come at her hands. However, when Sally is later put into torpor for frenzying in court, Denton escapes the cellar. Not long afterwards, Joanne is the victim of a hit-and-run car accident, and she calls on Silas for a rescue. The driver seems to be a small woman, but some suspect that Denton is behind the attack. After his visit from Sir Francis, Scourge of Oxfordshire, Theodore rallies the coterie to help track down a Malkavian by the name of Robert Weston, who has been speaking against the prince to leaders of the Camarilla. Joanne leads the investigation, which ends up taking many months to complete. In the meantime, Velvet continues his affair with Adam, and though his lover's passion seems undiminished, sex no longer satisfies the vampire within him. They both begin to flirt around the idea of sharing blood to invoke the passion of a blood bond between them. Silas is called to audience by his great-great-grandsire, Sir James Douglas, who tells him he must prove himself worthy of his blood by unmaking someone he despises. Silas names Eric Matthews as his target, an actor who is not afraid to abuse his growing fame, and goes to his coterie for aid. Between them, they discover that the man is guilty of abusing his privilege, and Theodore kidnaps him for a personal review. It is during Eric's stay with Theodore that Joanne informs the coterie of the blood tax placed on her, part of the price of being a Toreador in Oxfordshire, and the group decide that the blood of Eric will be a fitting tribute with an interesting taste for the prince to enjoy. Silas returns to Sir James, who accepts the task is done, despite showing displeasure with Silas's level of involvement in Eric's undoing. Joanne also learns that her ex, August, is critically ill after a botched surgery. It was this illness that led her to refuse Joanne's proposal of marriage. The two tearfully reunite, and Joanne embarks on a mission to search for means of saving August's life. Theodore helps Sir William, the prince's child, by cutting through some bureaucracy to enable him to anonymously purchase a property on Planner Road that has been troublesome to acquire. After the business is done, however, it transpires that the previous owner was Fabrice Martin, another Nosferatu of Oxford, who is not best pleased. In the mortal world, Velvet is having trouble with his in-laws. Some of them don't like him, and others like him a little too much, and have become addicted to the supernatural thrill of the kiss. He manages to maintain the delicate balance of mortal and vampiric needs. For now. Finally, the coterie's investigations into Robert Weston bear fruit, and they learn the location of his haven. Cheng Li, Oxford's sole Tremere, gives them a bloodstone, and Sir Francis instructs them that the stone must be with Robert at the stroke of midnight, when the knights shall descend upon it. They travel to Reading and find Robert, who is very keen to have a discussion. He tells them that Oxford is not the bastion of kindred kind it once was. The disappearance of Sir Thomas, a Toreador, and the torpor of another knight, Sir Marta, a Brewer, have brought the prince's rule into question, and this is why he speaks against him. The discussion is drawn out by the coterie until midnight strikes, and the knights of Oxfordshire ride to battle, executing several kindred of Reading, including Robert himself, and leaving little but bloody remains of the guards. Joanne manages to save Amanda, a Reading toreador, from final death, though she is staked and taken into the prince's custody. Having completed this task, the coterie are urged to request recognition as full-fledged kindred of Oxfordshire. However, on the eve of court, Silas is confronted by Sir Gansooke's horse, which carries him to the edge of Oxfordshire, arriving at the Rollright Stones just before dawn. After dismounting, Silas is abandoned there and rushes to find himself shelter for the coming sunrise. The following night at court, Velvet is recognised, despite only one citizen of Oxfordshire speaking on his behalf. Theodore is vouched for by Sir Francis, and Silas, who manages to return to Oxford just in time in something of a ragged state, is vouched for by Sir Gansooke. Though Joanne is vouched for by Druty, messenger of the city, it is deemed not to be enough, and the herald rebukes her publicly. In consequence to the raid on Robert Weston, a messenger arrives from the court of Reading with an ultimatum from his prince, Helena. She demands a duel with Sir Drogo to decide who will have domain over Oxfordshire and Reading. Drogo sends a response that only when Prince Helena reaches her 4th century will she be deemed worthy of a duel with him, and when that night comes, he will be waiting in Oxfordshire. While Velvet moves ever closer towards a mutual blood bond with Adam, Silas begins to prepare for entry into the games, and Joanne takes August away for life or death surgery. Meanwhile, Theodore learns a dark secret of his bloodline. He is not descended from a noble Ventrue knight after all. He, Isabel and Meliore are La Sombra, guising as Ventrue under the protection of a deal made with Sir Enolf, progenitor of the current Ventrue bloodline in Oxford. As Theodore reels from the repulsive darkness within his soul, Meliore encourages him to face it and find the darkness within. So thank you for listening to this video. If you would like to know what happens to our coterie, then join us on Monday the 13th of January 2020 at 7 PM UK time on Twitch. And hopefully see you there.